Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to Guns and Barbecue. I am Guns and Barbecue. So today I would like to talk about capacity versus power. As you can see on this table, I have some different options here, different size options, etc. It's a hotly debated topic, I guess you could say. Some people feel they need, 19 plus 1 rounds, 20 plus 1. Other people think, a good 6-shooter is all you need. So I'm going to try and dive into that a little bit and tell you my thoughts, which are just purely my personal preference, and by no means a suggestion or meant to change your mind. So let's get to it. So up here in the top left corner, I have my Ruger P95. That was actually my duty weapon when I did armed security way back when. In the top center, I have my Smith & Wesson Model 2 lemon squeezer and 38 Smith & Wesson. That's right, 38 Smith & Wesson, not 38 Special. To the right of that, I have my Ruger EC9. That is just a cheaper version of the LC9. Honestly, if you're on a budget or something like that, it is an awesome little gun. Highly recommend it. Coming down a little bit, we got the big old revolver sitting in the center. That is my Ruger Red Hawk 44 Magnum. Down below that, upside down, we have my Detonics 45 ACP. It's kind of like a Colt Commander size handgun. And then over here we have my EDC, my Ruger SR 1911 in 10mm. First off, I'll just get it out of the way in case somebody wants to mention it, because this isn't even all of my Ruger handguns being shown here. But I'm a bit of a Ruger fanboy, so if that's an issue, I guess you're just going to have to get over it. I'm sorry. You're going to see a lot of Rugers on my channel. Hope you don't mind. So, let's see. Well, what do you prefer? Do you think that you're going to need, 20 rounds of 9mm? I don't have any of those awesome 9mm that are holding 20 rounds. But do you think that you need something like that? Or, is 6 rounds of 44 Magnum gonna suffice? Personally, I absolutely love revolvers. I think they're awesome. I love the simplicity of them. Now, when you want to talk about reloading, I guess you can make the argument that having to swing open a cylinder and fumble around with a speed loader or moon clips, and let's say you can make the argument that it might be a bit more difficult to reload a revolver over semi-auto, where all you got to do is drop the magazine, replace the magazine, and rack. So if you want to make those arguments, then maybe the semi-auto is better for you. But I absolutely love revolvers. I love how they shoot. I love the weight of them, you name it. So with the things that are going on in the world, we're a couple years ago, we watched as somebody rented a Home Depot truck and mowed down a bunch of people. I believe it was in New York. And I believe that's one argument where you can make good points for something like a 44 Magnum with 6 shots, because I bet it would have been really nice to have something with that kind of power to, just shoot into an engine bay and hopefully tear up wiring and disable that truck before it hits you or any other bystanders. Maybe hit the battery. Some of these vehicles today, actually, I think a lot of them are coming with aluminum heads and things like that. I'm not saying that you're going to disable the engine just by shooting the engine with a 44 Magnum, but it's got a lot better chance than a 9mm, or even, especially not a 38 Smith & Wesson. That's a pretty anemic round. Let's talk about, other things that are going on today. We're seeing a lot of riots and looting. First off, I would just like to say I have no problem with people protesting, and even, flipping some cop cars and things like that. I kind of view it as, standing up to a tyrannical government that was not listening to its citizens, and I kind of equate it with, throwing the tea in the harbor. Sometimes when marching and assembling peacefully and protesting isn't working, maybe you got to flip a cop car or two. I'm not saying to go do it. I'm just saying sometimes it might be needed. However, when it comes to burning down private businesses and people's homes and assaulting individuals that have nothing to do with what you're trying to protest, then there's a very fine line in that sand, and it's, once you cross that, there's no excuse. And then you now run into the situation, well, what if I have to defend myself? What if I'm out, now I get caught up in one of these crowds that's rioting? We're seeing it with a lot of truck drivers, which, again, I used to do that job as well. A lot of people are actually under the impression that it's illegal for truck drivers to carry firearms in the truck. It is not. It is perfectly legal. As say, you just have to watch state to state with your safe carry transport laws and stuff. The big issue on why most truck drivers don't do it is because of reciprocity laws. Living here in the Northeast, I never did it because I was constantly going into states like New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Maryland. And if I were to ever be caught with that firearm for whatever reason, it would have been really bad news. So truck drivers do have that option, and there's a lot that do carry. But there's a lot that don't because of carry laws, so hopefully, something like a national reciprocity can come out of this stuff too, just for the truck drivers. But, so, going into that whole, what if you have to defend yourself in one of these giant crowds of people? You might want more than just 6 rounds of 44 Magnum, or even 8+1 rounds of 10mm, or in this case, like I said, this is a commander size, so I think it holds 6+1 of 45 ACP. It's, you're going to want as much ammo at your disposal as possible. So that's when you start getting into things like your full-size handguns, like my Ruger P95. Obviously, there's a plethora of different options. This is just what I have at my disposal for this video. So I actually had a Beretta 92, but I traded that in on a couple things, so that is no longer here to show off. But going back to the whole idea of defending yourself against these crowds, if your life was in danger, having those extra rounds and the extra magazines that are easy to access and reload and get back on target real quick could be the difference in you saving your own life and possibly a family member's life, and being injured or maimed and killed, unfortunately. I just saw a video where protesters had lit a house on fire, and from what I understand, there was a child inside that house, and then the protesters were actually blocking firefighters from getting to that house. That sounds to me like an amazing time to exercise your Second Amendment right I say that child did nothing to anybody. So you get into another concern though. What if you're at home and these people are saying, hey, we're going to come to the suburbs and rural America, and which, hey, I have no problem with. But if you're coming here to threaten to burn down my home and rob me or loot me or anything, well, maybe I need something a little bit bigger than that. Maybe I need my AR-15 with 30 rounds. There's a lot of different things here. Now my AR-15 is 5.56 223, but this is a whole other type of self-defense. But right now we're just talking when you're out and about and you get caught up in this stuff. Personally, I choose to go an intermediate route where I have a little bit more capacity than my 44 Magnum. But I've got plenty more power than my 9mm. I feel it's a happy in between. If I need to, I can carry more magazines. Excuse me there, sorry. Like I said, if I need to, I can carry more magazines. There's always good options there, even with this commander size. I'm losing 2 rounds to the full-size 1911. So that brings us up on the other point of, are you going to be open carrying or are you going to be concealed carrying? In a time of unrest like this is one of those times where the argument of, well, you make yourself a target if you open carry is very viable. I don't agree with it most of the time, but in a time of civil unrest where you have people rioting and looting and things like that, you don't know the situation you could end up in, and you don't know who's seeing you and not realizing that they have seen you. So in that situation, you very well can make yourself a target. So you might want to go with something smaller, such as this Detonics or the LC9 or EC9. Mine's an EC9, as I said. The only difference between those two, I believe, are the sights on them. The sights on the EC9, I believe, are integral to the slide. You can't change them out or anything. There's no dots on the sights either. They're just blacked out. But like I said, it's a great little pistol. I had the lemon squeezer up there just as a show of options. You know, you don't have to carry a big massive revolver. I say if you like revolvers, you can go with something much smaller. But honestly, I don't really see the lemon squeezer ever as a viable option. Let's say 6 rounds, break top, and like I said, it's a 38 Smith & Wesson is a very anemic round. You'd be much better off carrying something like that EC9, where you have, I believe it's 6+1. It might actually be 7+1 shots of 9mm. It's just a single stack. So, but again, that gun conceals very easily, very nicely, and shoots very smooth. I think I picked it up for like $225. And brand new, that is. Awesome gun. So what are your guys' thoughts? Like I said, I am more of an intermediate guy, going with my Ruger SR 1911 and 10mm. I like the 10mm round over 45 ACP, just for hard barrier penetration, things like that. I have watched 45 ACP and 45 long Colt actually bounce off of car windshields. I shouldn't say bounce. It made a divot in the windshield like you've stuck your thumb in Play-Doh, is the best way I could describe it, and then ricocheted off somewhere. Could not believe it when I saw it. So after seeing things like that, like I said, that's what made me switch over to my 10mm. Not saying it can't happen with the 10mm either, but I haven't seen it yet. So, one day I'm probably going to switch back to carrying a 44 Magnum revolver, because 329 PD is just on my list of things to get, because I do want something lighter. Let's say my 1911 is about the same carry weight as your standard 44 Magnum revolver, but if I get the Smith & Wesson 329 PD, that 44 Magnum then goes from being 40 some ounces down to, I believe, about 25 or 26 ounces. Don't quote me on that. I didn't look it up. It's just going off of memory here. One other thing to touch base on with this video is, let's take all of that out of the equation. Let's say we're back just living normal everyday lives. We're not worrying about riots. We're not worrying about cars running us down and things like that right now. You're just carrying to carry because you're prepared for whatever might happen. Then that's why I want to switch back to 44 Magnum revolver, because most of your self-defense situations that require a shot to be fired on average will be taken care of in 3 to 4 shots. Now, most of your self-defense situations, once the gun's pulled, that's enough to end whatever is going on. But once shots are fired, it is usually on average 3 to 4 shots. So a 6-shot revolver should be ample ammunition for a self-defense situation. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of rambly, I'm sure, and I probably talked in circles like I normally do. I'm trying to stop that. It's kind of weird just talking to a video camera or a table or something, not getting any feedback or uh-huhs or yep, or any crap like that from anybody. So I'm still trying to get used to it. Hope you don't mind my stammerings and as that one guy might say, Shatner-esque pauses. Please hit the thumbs up, thumbs down, comment what your thoughts are, what your preference is, if your everyday carry has changed since all this has started. If it has, what are you going to go back to when you do return to carrying your normal everyday carry? Please share the video, let people know I'm out here and see what their thoughts are as well. And most of all, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Keep your guns firing, your smokers smoking, and I will catch you all later.